Well, I'm back from Dragon Con, and it was fantastic. As always, Dragon Con is just overwhelming. There are a lot of people, and it's hot, and you have to walk everywhere, and there's a lot going on. But it was great. Weirdly, it was different from last year. And I've been thinking a little bit about why it was so different. So I thought I'd do a little video, talk about it, talk about some of my takeaways, some of my thoughts around Dragon Con. I went as an attending professional this year, which meant that they invited me to come and to do panels and things like that. And that was great. And I had a good time, and I will probably apply for next year if I go to Dragon Con. More about that at the end of this video, so definitely watch all the way through. But one of the coolest things that happened at Dragon Con was I found a pen maker, somebody who makes custom pens, and I picked up this absolute beauty. It is gorgeous. It's a fountain pen, and I love fountain pens. I have a very small, simple collection of fountain pens, but this one I'm adding to it because I just fell in love with it as soon as I saw it. And anyway, that was one of my cool finds at Dragon Con. But like I said, Dragon Con was pretty different than last year. And I had a little bit of trouble pinning down exactly what it was until I was talking to some other authors. And then I realized that Dragon Con this year was less about meeting new people and forming new relationships. And instead, it was about nurturing the relationships that I already had. And so instead of constantly being introduced to people or introducing myself to people, which is what I did last year, I kind of ended up just hanging out a lot more. I had a great time, and I'm really grateful for all of the people I got to spend time with at Dragon Con. There were some really good author hangouts. My publisher, Athon, had a party that was fantastic. It was cool getting to see people at the Athon booth, hanging out there, getting to sell some books, and going to panels and talking to other authors and also fans as well. Because I was an attending professional, I had a few more responsibilities than last year, and I definitely noticed that taking more of a toll on my energy. Mostly because I constantly had to keep in mind where I was and when it was so that I wasn't late to things. And even though I didn't do that much as an attending professional, I only had a couple of panels, I still found that it was a bit more of a drag on me. Now, part of the reason that this year was different from last year is last year when I arrived at Dragon Con, I was fresh and ready to go, ready to plug in and hang out with people all weekend. This year, I had just arrived back from Singapore, and I was exhausted. My internal clock was completely off. I was suffering terrible jet lag, and I just went straight into Dragon Con. So that's probably part of the reason that it felt so different.
Okay, so we're at Dragon Con early, a day
Yeah.
early. What are you looking forward to?
Mostly I'm looking forward to the Athon booth, getting to hang out with other authors. We're actually going to hang out with another author now. But also getting to meet people, talk to them about lit RPG and what I write and what other people write. One of the most fun things for me at any convention is getting to just talk to people about books, and there's going to be a lot of that this weekend. So I'll be doing a couple of panels, and it'll be my first time doing panels here at Dragon Con. Typically the panels are very well attended, and so I'm kind of excited to see how that goes and just sort of how the process is here as opposed to other places where I've done panels or talks. So, and I'm really looking forward to hanging out with everybody who are on the panels. I feel like I got invited to kind of the cool kid tables, so a lot of really cool people are going to be on those panels, and it'll be great hearing what they have to say as well. But there was also something else that was interesting, which was that I found I had a lot more sort of relationships to manage or to balance. And the result was that I didn't get to hang out with some people as much as I wanted to. When you go to an event like Dragon Con, or really any kind of event, it can be hard if you have a lot of different relationships to manage. And I don't think I have more than normal, but when you're a full-time author, you'll often have different relationships with a variety of publishers. And you might have relationships with other authors or audiobook narrators and all of that kind of stuff. And each of those relationships needs to be managed and tended to and encouraged to grow, because you don't want to burn bridges. You don't want to sort of let things go or let things fade, because you never know what the future might hold. And so that can add a layer of complexity. And at an event like DragonCon, where people are constantly moving and constantly doing things, and there are constantly events happening, I think that it can be especially tough. Another thing that happened during DragonCon was I got to meet a lot of fans, and that was awesome. It's really encouraging and life-giving to meet people who enjoy what you do and are excited about what's coming next. And it got me fired up too. I definitely came back from DragonCon with a renewed sense of excitement for writing. I think my biggest takeaway from DragonCon was just that everything takes more time than you imagine. This is something that I constantly have to remind myself of, because I can often forget. Things take time. Relationships take time. Deals take time. Progress takes time. I tend to be fairly impatient and want to sort of rush through things. And so it was nice taking some moments at DragonCon to just sort of exist in the space and to observe everything that was going on around me. Now, I mentioned earlier in the video that I would apply for professional status next year if I went. And in truth, I'm not 100% sure that I'm going back to DragonCon next year. I think I am. I think I need to, for a variety of reasons. But the reason I wouldn't go back to DragonCon is because it's a lot. It's an overwhelming event in a lot of ways, especially when you're in the thick of it. And when you're an attending professional, you really do have to be in the thick of it. If I do go back next year, I certainly won't plan a trip to Asia immediately before. And that'll probably help with things like how tired I am. But I'm curious, have you gone to DragonCon before? If so, what were your thoughts on it? Do you think I should go back next year? And if I come back, will you be there to meet me? Because that would be really cool. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful day and enjoyed my ramblings on DragonCon.